Hello, people of the page, as the late great Anne Rice used to say. My name is Awen, I do primal druidry, and today I'm not exactly doing primal druidry. I am not teaching. I am going to simply share my thoughts on something that all of us deal with to different extents. You definitely are if you're watching this online, which is the only way to watch it, I'm quite sure. So I'm simply going to get right into it. I am feeling more and more that I want to just reject entirely the way that the algorithm or social media and YouTube especially wants to funnel people into operating online. And it's to react to, for one, I could leave it at that. It's to react, not to think, not to reflect, not to have genuine curiosity. It's just to react. Whether that's by having the most dramatic thumbnail possible of somebody making the face or person reacts to this. The fact that that's such a popular genre of video, which not the point of my commentary here, but I could not give less of a fuck. I don't want to watch videos of other people. It's this weird, like, living vicariously through other people that is just taking so much prominence on social media, on YouTube. I don't want to make videos like that. I don't want to watch them. Um, and yet, if you want to go viral, if you want to have a big following, whatever, that's one of the things that seems to get views. And as I think about, what is my voice online, to the degree, like, I've gone back and forth many times. It's why I often take big breaks in posting at all or making videos. Is how much do I even want to engage with this? Do I want to feed this beast, as it were? Um, and I've decided that I am going to continue to share videos. Um, I'm going to continue to share my thoughts, but notice I say videos and thoughts, not fucking content. I hate that word, that phrase, about as much as a person can fucking hate anything. It means absolutely nothing. Um, and that's not what I'm here to do. I don't want to insult you by stealing your time from you on bullshit. I don't want to insult myself by doing that to me. Um, and damn near every single account or media videos that I have seen to the effect of here's how you go viral is basically here's how to make people react, not think, not reflect, not ask serious questions, not have curiosity, just to react as emotionally and thoughtlessly as possible. Um, and I really want to, this is maybe the major point of today's ramble, is you can be online and reject that. You do not have to operate that way. You can reclaim the way that you operate and exist and engage with social media, on the internet, without completely turning your fucking brain off and allowing yourself to basically iPad baby brain yourself as an adult, which is really what seems to be happening with a lot of people. So I've I did already talk about this a tiny little bit in a video I made the other day, but it is still very much on my mind, and it is a really good example, so I'm going to bring it up again. I, out of sheer morbid curiosity, watched the Theo Von interview with Mr. Beast, who I've never watched a single one of this guy's videos. He's I've been passively aware of him as basically everything that I never want to be in ways that I don't want to spend my time. Like literally going outside, digging my own grave and burying myself would be a better use of my time than watching a single one of his fucking videos. But I was curious, what is behind this motherfucker's eyes? What is going on in there? I don't want to say nothing, but if you listen to it, and I kind of do recommend it as a cautionary tale and as something to seriously think about the ramifications of, the man iPad baby brained himself. He talks at length about how his entire high school years, he's just obsessively watching YouTube, crunching data, understanding what makes things go viral. And sure, he's a however many multimillionaire. He has however many followers. But that's not, the follower thing means fuck all to me. Sorry, not sorry. I understand objectively. Yes, it gives you more, quote, power. It gives you more temporal power. It opens doors, options, blah, blah, whatever. I don't care. I seriously do not care. Like, repeatedly throughout the time that I've been online, I've thought to myself, do I want to make an honest go of that? And there's been a few times where I'm like, well, if I did a Druid Reacts video, if I did a what, like, if I catered to the lowest common denominator of what makes people react viscerally without thinking, if I turned myself into a novelty, into a gimmick, into a fucking sideshow to gawk at, then sure. But I don't have the words for how much I would hate myself if I did that. So I'm good. Um, and whether you create videos, whether you share your thoughts, whatever, or if you're, online for your own purposes, if you're just a private person that maybe watches stuff but doesn't share your own, you don't have to operate in that way. I'm going to keep saying that a few different ways. Just to wave my cane around a little bit for a second. When I was growing up, and especially for, like, I was not the first generation to just have internet. Obviously, I'm 28 as of Halloween. Happy birthday to me. The internet was not always like this. Like, long story short, the internet was not always like this. I remember being so bummed when people in my general generation will remember the ology books, Dragonology, Wizardology, Egyptology, part of my gateway drug into magic. And the Dragonology website, I was so sad, not that long ago, finally went down. I guess somebody stopped paying for the domain or whatever. But it had this more organic, just fun, adventurous, questy feeling to it. On a totally different, far less wholesome theme. I remember when Craigslist was still the Wild fucking West, and you could see all the missed connections and all the personal ads, and there would be the most wild, reckless, actually feral, not as a fucking trend for, I went outside with no shoes on, I'm feral. Shut the actual fuck up. Real feral was the unhinged people of Craigslist who would be like, hey, in both ways, wink, wink, my back door is open, my back door is unlocked, come in my house, fuck the shit out of me, and leave. And mind you, obviously deeply unsafe. Gay men are God's bravest soldier. Like, I don't know, I don't have words for that. But it was the Wild West. And I have so much respect. I had so much more respect for that because you were doing something. It's not just like endlessly either catering to people's whatever the little monkey react buttons in their brain, what remains of it, or just waxing poetic about stuff that you're not doing in real life. So I've spoken with, I call her my bard in chief. If you've been to any of my rituals and a good amount of my classes, she's the one that does verbal evocations. She's a poet. She's an incredible person. And we have long brainstorming sessions about this, where the internet now, it is rather obviously built in such a way that it prevents that kind. And I'm not just talking about the extremity of the Craigslist thing, but you guys get what I'm saying. It was a more organic time. And the way that it is set up now is to make it so that sense of adventure, that sense of possibility, the sense of discovery that you would have, like logging on and exploring the internet, it's not exploring anymore. You're just being fed this funnel of whatever it has decided you care about, whether you actually do or you don't. And by the way, even if you only look up specific things, I've never once in my life looked up anything pertaining to the Kardashians. Everything I know about them is against my will, as the kids online say. So even if you especially do not care about something, it will still shove it down your fucking brain if you allow it. So obviously, the major move is log off, just be online less. But that is A, easier said than done. And B, doesn't necessarily solve the challenge, the issue of what about when you are online? Let's say you're the world's best person at being moderate with your time and you're balanced and what have you, and you live a real life, but you also are online, as many of us are, if not all of us. It might sound basic, but I think what a lot of us can do is simply keep those critical thinking skills dusted off. Do not allow them to atrophy. And when you see something that is catering to that monkey button in the brain that wants to make you just react and live vicariously through other people and doom scroll and watch content that's fucking sludge for your brain, that means nothing if not worse than that, remember that that's exactly what it is. Understand what you are looking at. What is the function of it? Should be one of the eternal questions. Who benefits? Cui bono? Who benefits from my watching this? Why? What is the purpose? And if you don't have a good answer to that, it doesn't deserve your time. We should feel insulted by it. I'm not just saying arbitrarily, oh, it's bad for you. Don't do things that are bad for you. The fact that more people don't feel patronized by the extremely low tier of shit that is being pumped into our eyeballs every time we allow it should be insulting. And it is within our power to disengage from that, to de-escalate, to just block. I think it's really gross and a sign of the times that some people think being blocked is some kind of badge of honor, or that you're weak if you... I am a generous blocker. I am a very liberal blocker. If you so much as annoy me, if I think that what you post is detractory to my online experience in any way, this is my fucking internet experience. I curate it. So I block to ensure that I'm not Mr. Beasting myself into having iPad baby brain, because that's on me. No one else is going to do that for me. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to decide if you want your brain to atrophy or not. And that goes from just like nothing bullshit content from people that want attention for nothing. And, well, I guess this isn't that much of a difference. The way that that expresses itself tends to, each different website has its own flavor. Instagram is different than Twitter, X, I don't care what you fucking call it. All of them have a different flavor. And I think I've alluded to openly the sort of flavor of Instagram is mostly what I had in mind with the comments the past few minutes. But on Twitter, it's an unusual level of hostility and aggression. Huberman had an entire episode on the ins and outs of why that is. I recommend you go listen to it. He'll obviously explain it better than I can. Suffice it to say, if you're on there for 5 seconds, it's a lot of like manically aggressive, hostile people. And for one of my first thoughts when I see stuff like that is, if you ever spoke this way in real life, it wouldn't be for long. Either someone would fucking hit you, or people would look at you like you're crazy, or you would get the cops called on you. It's not how human beings express themselves. And it goes from, for one, the medium is the message. For two, it's not simply tone. It's what people are saying. And once again, you have to think about who benefits, consider the fucking source, who is saying what and why. And I'm saying this as neutrally as possible. I'm not saying this as either a good or a bad thing. But on Twitter, especially, I've noticed it's some of the most insanely aggressive, hostile posters, not all of them, but a good amount of them, are men. And by default, most men, I'm not saying none of them, most men cannot just thirst trap their way into a following like women can. And mind you, again, not saying that's a positive or negative thing, it's whatever you make it. But men, by and large, cannot thirst trap their way into a following unless they're unusual, in which case I might be one of their thirst followers. I'm no better than a man. Anyways, so of the people that cannot do that, you see them sharing more and more extreme shit. Especially, I hate that this is even a thing because it's such a caricature. It's such a cartoon caricature of what people think is going on. But a lot of the people on specifically, I'm just going to say, on right-wing Twitter, I will categorize as either, what's the nicest, whatever. The simplest way to put this is either, it's either extreme, barely veiled closet cases like Nick fucking Fuentes and Andrew Tate. If you can't tell those men are gay, you have no gaydar, you're not paying attention, you have no critical thinking, you have no basic intuition either. Those men are fucking gay. So it's either barely concealed closet cases, It's deeply unfortunate pick me women, which, mind you, brings me no pleasure to say. I'm not saying that as some kind of own. It's this weird race to the bottom of like, if I make myself as domestic as possible, then men will approve of me. In the same way that, frankly, you could say the closet cases are the same thing. So that is not exclusive to women. And then the third, I guess you could just make another room for catch-all grifters, whatever. But the rest of them, you could kind of just say like generic, mentally unstable, easily led individuals. And I'm not even going to get into the left. I think it's obvious what a lot of their problems are. I'm mentioning the issues on the right because I feel like there's once again no nice way to put this. They are just as guilty as they will accuse the left of being insanely extreme online. But I don't think even half of the people behind these accounts, when it comes to like the basically women should be barefoot and pregnant all the time, women shouldn't have rights, blah, blah, blah. Like, for one, unless you're just a gay man, that nobody hates women like a genuinely gay right-wing guy because he has no use for us. A genuinely homosexual right-wing dude has a misogyny like no one else on this earth, and that's real. But a good amount of them, they just have no other way of getting attention. And there's other topics. I'm using very generic examples. Log on for yourself, see for yourself. An easier, perhaps less charged one would be like the fucking lunatics that like take chunks out of sticks of butter, the liver kings of the world. And mind you, once again, should not have to say this, gonna throw it out there anyways. I deliberately do not affiliate myself with any kind of label, not as a cop-out, not because I'm embarrassed of whatever my views are, but because I don't want to be fucking associated with lunatics. I don't want to be associated with pick-me's. I don't want to be associated with insane closet cases, the same way that I don't want to be associated for like this woke hive mind that thinks they speak for every queer person alive, which I put in air quotes only because that's another label that I don't care for many reasons. And I'm just going to throw it out there. One of them being, I don't like that it's become an identity independent of sexuality. And then you have gay. So there's all these past few years of like queer as an identity, queer as an idea, basically. And then obviously straight people use the term, obviously straight people that should just call themselves allies, frankly. And then the actually gay people get mad, like, this isn't, basically my culture is not your costume. Like, this isn't queer, this isn't the real thing. And it's like, bitch, you made this into an idea. You made this into others so that anyone can take it on. Anyone that feels different, anyone that likes David Bowie can now call themselves queer. I vehemently fucking disagree with that. I did not choose, like, once again, to shake my cane at you, when I was coming up, when I was in high school and Occupy was still a thing, and we still had allies, straight people did not feel the need to call themselves queer to fit in or get clout or whatever the fuck. Back in my fucking day, part of our whole point in the LGBT community, whatever, was that we didn't choose our sexuality. That our sexuality is not a choice. We're born this way. It is what it is. And it's not a fucking idea. It's not a personality. It's not something to try on. Like, I'm getting carried away, but you guys get the fucking idea. And that's very much like, as a bisexual woman, that's very much still how I feel. Like, I personally feel very patronized by a lot of the rhetoric that you see in the current queer movement. I don't consider myself queer because of that. So, lest anyone think I only have shit to talk about one side, everyone can catch these fucking hands. Everyone can get it. Me saying that I don't like labels is, once again, not that I owe anybody an explanation. It's very conscious. It is not a cop-out. It's, please do not fucking affiliate me with whatever the current cannibalistic infighting between people that like should be looking for overlap but are instead trying to socially kill each other. Whatever that is, leave me the fuck out of it. Leave me out of anything where people feel like they need to be some perfect poster child for some external ideology instead of, I don't know, organically, independently thinking critically for yourself about issue issue to issue, individually, like not thinking that you have to represent the movement at every single point, which is fucking insane and a recipe for anyone to lose their mind. So if you look at right-wing Twitter, if you look at left-wing Twitter, if you look at anything where people are just trying to prove a point, I bring all of that up to drive that particular thing home. Forgive me. It's a ton of people who are just trying to be this perfect idea for what they think their movement is, for whatever their brand is. And again, a nothing fucking corporate buzzword. Brand, I feel like, is just another nothing corporate buzzword that we've all taken on to be some crucial part of our identity or online voice or personality or whatever. And for me, from where I'm sitting, I think it's one of the worst possible things you could do towards actually thinking. So my aversion to labels is the opposite of a cop-out. It's when I do speak, it's going to be if I actually have something to say, and it's not going to be me trying to represent some idea or some movement or whatever. I think that's phony. Call me corny. There's a reason I get along with 90s kids very, very well. There was very much that idea of like, don't put a fucking label on me. Like, people felt patronized by the idea of being pigeonholed into some box, and you can call that corny as much as you like. I feel exactly the same way. There's a reason I get along with that generation, and there's like a jadedness but authenticity at the same time that I very much relate to. So one of these days, I will get my favorite Gen Xer on this channel, Entropy. If you've been at all in the kink scene in LA or outside of that, his legend surprises me sometimes, the people that I've met who know who he is. The originator of Florentine flogging in the LA scene. He is somebody that I've been dying to have on the podcast, on the channel for so long. It will happen at some point. But anyways, as promised, I'm doing a lot of rambling to just repeatedly reiterate the point of you can reclaim your experience online. You can still consciously engage online, even though that is very much not what any of the social media apps or websites want. And mind you, we don't need to drive ourselves crazy thinking about why that is. The most basic answer is money. The longer your eyeballs are fucking glued to it, the better consumer you are, the more ads you're watching, whether you know they're ads or not. And as the saying goes, when something is free, you are the product. So, as I said, I very much believe you can still make these things work for you, but it's going to be a constant effort. It's going to be constant wrestling. I'm thinking about the Hebrew expression, wrestling with God now, but it's going to be a constant wrestling to keep your own consciousness, your sentience, literally, your own principles. So know what those are, by the way. Actually reflect on what those are, because if you don't know, plenty of people who probably have fucking nothing going on behind their eyes, like Mr. Beast, are happy to tell you. And the difference is, it's very likely not going to be something that's well thought out. It's not going to be a serious ethical reflection. It's going to be a sales pitch. It's going to be it's simply going to be somebody trying to sell you something, whether that's a physical product or a lifestyle brand or whatever the fuck their gimmick is. So I'm gonna, just to throw myself out there, I sell Patreon subscriptions. You can pay to read my writing and listen to my audio meditations. I also fully understand, like, I'm not for everyone, and I don't want to be for everyone. I don't want to change what I'm doing to make it as palatable as possible, because that makes it mean fucking nothing. So, and that is another thing, like, to play slightly, not even devil's advocate, but just to add to another side of it, to reinforce the personal conscious sovereignty, how you engage online thing. If you find yourself excessively criticizing a particular creator, a particular whatever person who shares stuff online, there is no fucking gun to your head to watch their shit. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, unless somebody, just to continue using him as an example, somebody like Mr. Beast, if their stuff is being shoved down your face, if this is somebody with millions and millions of followers who is like socially relevant, that's different than like some just individual that's sharing videos, which shamelessly, I am including myself in that category. I am just some person that shares videos. If you don't like what I have to say, you don't have to. There is no gun to your head. Block me. Like, please block me. Curate your experience as you see fit. I would only say when I talk about I block people that annoy me or detract from my experience online, it's not so much people I disagree with. I can agree with you ideologically, whatever. We might be totally in agreement on whatever our opinions are. But if the way that you communicate, if the way that you post, if the way that you share your thoughts is rage baity, if it's clickbaity, if it's deliberately just to get angry, whatever kind of reactions to get engagement, pardon my tea hiccups, I don't want anything to do with that. So I think I'm going to start to wrap it up here. I'm kind of liking the bite-sized video thing that is happening. I'm noticing I kind of, the past few videos I've recorded have ended up being about half an hour. So I'm not gonna continue yapping if I have nothing to say, which I guess is another point here. If I have nothing to say, I'm just not gonna post, which not to tell anyone what to do here, but if more people could consider that, that would be fucking great. Like if you have nothing to actually share with anyone, I am six. You know what? I lied. Maybe I don't want to wrap this one quite yet. I keep thinking that everything needs to be its own video. Maybe this is a related ramble. I've been thinking about consumerism as it relates to specifically paganism, the craft, witchcraft, druidry is definitely under those umbrellas. In the sense that like I'm sick of like the fucking haul videos. I'm sick of the overly materialistic whatever. And that is, for one, deeply in the category of you have nothing to say but just want attention. B, the fact that I can't even fucking, you can't criticize stuff like that without being accused of like, well, what if shopping is this person's coping mechanism? What if the stuff is their emotional security blanket? And it's like, for one, I didn't make you fucking depressed. For two, guess what? I can still criticize it. I can still criticize it. I'm not responsible for your emotional state. Ugh. And the fact that that's become a defense of back in my day, like, honestly, I don't know what the fuck exactly happened during the Occupy movement, but I feel like a lot of issues that used to be vehemently left-wing somehow shifted to becoming right-wing, libertarian, whatever. Shoes, I don't know what metaphor I'm looking for, guys. I get hyped up and I don't know what to say exactly. But things that like the left used to care about a lot more in a lot more of a mainstream way, from materialism, consumerism, questioning big fucking pharma, and don't look at me like I'm some fucking crazy person. I mean literally just caring about your health and not being accused of being fat phobic for suggesting that people exercise. Like remember fucking Michelle Obama's like healthy lunch thing? If someone, if a left-wing person tried to do that today, the shit they would catch for being accused of being fat phobic and whatever the fuck else, they wouldn't be able to get anything done. So I'm more talking about stuff like that. And personally, I don't think any of this should be partisan. This is part of the issue. This is why I don't like labels, because when you're trying to represent an entire movement, like instead of thinking, what do I actually feel about this issue? What do I think about it? It's, oh, well, what's the left-wing position? What's the queer party line? How do I express loyalty to the party? Like whatever the fuck it is. Can we not do any better than that? Like, not to be a cunt, I'm sure, I guess a lot of people can't. A lot of people straight up cannot and don't want to think for themselves, which is why a lot of pagans would truly be better off just being Christian. Like, go back to the church. I've never understood it, why people have an issue when, you know, Kat Von D pulled a Doreen Virtue and, you know, I guess it may be a slightly different than Doreen in that she went Orthodox and not just like angel woo-woo, whatever. Not to diminish, whatever. I need more tea. I just don't understand being upset with someone's essentially saying, hey, this is too much for me. This isn't right for me. I'm going to go do something that gives me a sense of structure and peace. Like, okay. And I guess part of it is like, oh, well, this reinforces the stigma that we're all satanic and devils and da-da-da. And it's like, okay, once again, other people are not responsible for upholding your worldview. Other people, like their life, their experience, why is it that they have to be personally responsible for validating your experience? That's for you. Like everyone needs to advocate for themselves, for their own happiness, for their own fulfillment. So someone like Kat Von D going Christian because witchcraft is too much for her, she got burned, does not actually affect me in the fucking slightest. And by the way, while I'm on this topic, it would actually be fine if people saw it as a little more scary again, as maybe not something to do casually, not something to just like lightheartedly buy a spell kit and start getting into stuff. Because forgive me for sounding a little pretentious here, but part of the point of the craft is actually thinking for yourself every single step of the way. That's what disorganized religion is. And mind you, I'm saying this neutrally. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not like, there's trade offs. There are plenty of positive things about organized religion, about structure, about having physical places of worship, about having plenty of other people and kindred spirits that you can connect with about your religion. Whereas just because someone also calls himself pagan doesn't mean that I have anything in common with them or anything to do with them. It doesn't mean that we agree on anything or have any common experiences. I have some of the most vehement spiritual disagreements I've ever had are with people in my own, quote unquote, my own religion. But that's the thing. I'm totally at peace with that. I don't think there is anyone paganism. My mentor, Murtaugh Doyle, I'm waiting for his damn book to come out. He repeatedly uses the phrase paganisms instead of like one thing, because it's not just one thing. But I've talked about that before, and that is its own issue. So overall, what I'm trying to get at is like, I'm not for being in just like a state of anger and hysteria all the time, but it wouldn't hurt us to feel a little bit more patronized when we are being fucking patronized in our own lives and our own experiences by being spoon fed, funnel fed, whatever you want to call it, the dumbest fucking brain rotting content known to God or man. If that doesn't insult you, you're like, there's something wrong. There's something you're there's something wrong in that you are completely desensitized to real experience, to what's actually going on. And once again, just to shit on the guy because who cares, one of the many things that disturbed me so much about Mr. Beast, which is literally just some random gamer tag that got generated for this guy as a kid. It means nothing to him, although once I started feeling like this motherfucker's the devil, it did, kind of hit a little different. This guy has nothing going on behind there. And one of the things that solidified my just utter contempt for him is, for one, it seems like all the philanthropy he does, which is great, like whatever, it benefits people who deserve it probably more than he does. For one, he talks about philanthropy as not some like great soul calling, whatever, which I can at least respect that he cuts the shit and doesn't put on some fake story. He literally just says, well, the content is more fun that way. The content is more fun when I'm giving money away than when I'm not. He's Patrick fucking Bateman, like, who doesn't want to go to prison. There's nothing going on behind there. This motherfucker got sponsored to do some kind of mountain excursion, whatever, ended up discovering a new peak, a new mountain, literally named it Shopify because they sponsored the fucking trip and decided, like, I'm going to record an ad read here because what would make it most likely for people to not click away? So it's listening to this fucking guy, like, do all these wild experiences that, like, should mean something, should register some kind of human emotion. The only experience he seems to have with it is like, oh, well, this is going to make good content. And whatever I fucking have to do, whatever that means, I never want to become anything like that. he doesn't, he sounds like a fucking robot. And what was truly creepy is the only actual opinion he seemed to express was the most corporate fucking thing I've ever heard. Where, so Theo Von, stand-up comic, like, you know, not, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy him. I think he can be funny. He is not an intellectual. I don't think that's ever been, nobody has ever claimed that. But he has a, you know, general comedians, general stand-up support for free speech because it's important to what they do. And fucking, so he's talking about like YouTube essentially demonetizing people and like devaluing, degrading people that even say certain words that the algorithm doesn't like, that talks about things that the algorithm doesn't like. And that was the only fucking opinion that Mr. Beast actually fucking shared, where, what was it? That, well, basically, it's a corporation that's making money. So all they're doing, it's no big deal. All they're doing is they just don't want to be associated with, you know, stuff that might cause them problems. It's not a free speech issue. And I'm like, do you even hear yourself? Like, we literally, the most, I don't know the stats on this, one of the most popular YouTubers, the most millions of followers across the globe. I guess it's not surprising, but it's just his only opinion is straight corporate shilling, which, yeah, Shopify Mountain. It's everything this motherfucker does. And this is what people watch because he's pressing that fucking monkey brain of like, he does this, he gives this person $100,000, like whatever the fuck, because it's the most, he just does the most dramatic things he can think of that mean fucking nothing to him and frankly to the people who are watching. At most, it is a pornified version of life. And I use that word specifically to mean you are living vicariously through someone else while your own muscles, mentally and physically, are atrophying. So make your own fucking choices. Anyone who thinks that I'm telling anyone what to do, A, I don't care enough about you to tell you what to do straight up. B, even if I did, it makes no difference. I'm just another bitch with an opinion. And C, God forbid somebody has some fucking principles around thinking for yourself. God forbid someone ever talk about that. So I think I will actually cap this video here, but I'll reiterate the point one final time. Your experience online is yours. Your agency is yours. The way that you think is up to you. Nobody's gonna help you, but that also means nobody else can control you unless you allow it. So do what you will. Throw as many grains of salt into that as you like, whatever. My name is Awen. I do Primal Druidry. That is my vocation and calling in this life. I'm running out of yap juice, so I'm gonna make some more. If you like my general thought process and you want to see more of the actual druidry side, I have a Patreon. This is where I show my own thing. It starts at $3. I have tiers at $3 and $9, and it goes up from there depending on how much you want to engage with me and support my projects and what I do. And I am going to make more tea now. So thank you for listening, but now is the time to close your laptop, shut down your computer, put your phone away, go outside, and go do some magic. Go get laid.